out there. This is Andy B. Franck of Brainstorm, and whatever you do, stop doing it now, because now you have to listen to the FANTASM Podcast.
FANTASM.
Hey, this is Dr. Vincent West, medical doctor with the FANTASM Podcast, and today I have one of my favorite vocalists from one of my favorite bands, and we're going to be talking with Andy from Brainstorm, and we're going to be talking about their new album, Wall of Skulls, which is out on AFM Records. Andy, thank you so much for taking the time to do this today. We really appreciate you.
Hey, Winston, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. Thanks very much. Thanks so much.
I'm a huge fan of the band, have been for years. This is so cool to have you do this. We'll just jump right into the Wall of Skulls album. It's your 13th album for Brainstorm, right?
It is. That's the reason why the album started with the Chamber 13.
Oh, it's such a it's a great intro track to set the pace of the album, and it's such a great record. I'm so excited to talk with you about it today. Let's see here. So, what do we got here? Where should we start? I guess we'll start with the opening track here. So, yes, the Chamber 13. That's really cool. Did you guys do like who came up with the idea for the intro for the album?
It's always something very funny, between Torsten and me. So this is some sort of some kind of a challenge. As we always try to find something or how to include the number of our album. So this is last time we had the 12 on the cover. On the alarm clock. So and that was our 12th album.
Right.
And so on the 13th album, I had no really idea what to do. And Torsten came up and said, Andy, where Ravens Fly needs an intro, and I would like to have it, and it has to sound like this or that, and the name is Chamber 13. And I was like, okay, at this point, this is yours.
Oh, it's so cool.
This goes straight out of you. That was Torsten's part.
Oh, it's an amazing way to kick the record off, too. And then tell us about Where Ravens Fly.
It's I think the most important. A lot of people expected us to have another fast track after the opening track of Midnight Goes, which was a very fast one as well, and so they expected a new heavy track and a very fast one as well. And in the studio, it wasn't quite clear in the beginning, but in the studio we decided on Where Ravens Fly because it combines everything you need to know about Brainstorm. In 2000, being powerful with power, wherever you go, it's in the old ancient times, so and that's the reason why, it all starts with Odin, for example, his ravens, Munin and Hugin,
right?
So he had his ravens as well, but that's the reason why I gave this song up to the ravens.
It's such a great track to kick the album off with, too. And then we'll jump into track 3. What about Solitude?
Solitude is a song, which is so, how can I say, it's orchestral, so and very epic in many ways, in a heavy one. And to be very honest, also, this is another track, we did not know, is it the track which will make it on the album or not? And what came out at the end is so amazing, because the funny thing on Solitude is really, that was the first song I ever received from the band, from the other member.
Right.
You need to know that whenever we do write songs, they do record their first ideas, and then they send me an MP3 file, and then I do start making up the lyrics, and then I do start making up the vocal lines, and so on and so on. And I had no idea what to sing here, to be very honest. I think I think there must be tons of gigabytes, just with ideas, for this song, and not a single version was really good enough for me.
Right.
And that's the reason why it took me so long, so for this song. But I might say that the final version, what we have now on the album, is exactly the version that came into my mind, into my head, just about 2 weeks before we entered the studio, which is funny, because I never expected something like this anymore. I had thousands of different other tunes in my head, but this came up sometimes when I came back from work, and I sat there in my car, and I listened to it, and I think, as far as I do remember, it was somewhere on a traffic, a line of traffic we had, so then I sat there, and I had this idea of standing here, solitude, and I was like, okay, that's it, that's maybe it, and I tried it, and the coolest thing was, I recorded it, and 24 hours later, I still loved it, that's a good sign.
That's great.
That's the best thing you can have.
Oh, it's such a great track. It's a really, really, really good track on the album. And let's see, the next track, Escape the Silence. What can you tell us about that?
Escape the Silence is definitely one of the, is a song, which is in the history of serial killers, or whatever you might say, this goes back in the 1700, 1779 up to 1780. His name was Blaise Farage, a guy in France.
Mm-hmm.
He just he kidnapped a lot of people, and brought them back in the hills, and then he started to eat them and stuff, which is a very horrible story, and a story nobody in France really wants to talk about. But that came up to my mind, so many years ago, and I always wanted to write a song, and I always wanted to write lyrics about this story, and it's a very, very dark episode of the French history, but it fits in my ears, in my eyes. It fits perfectly. It's a very heavy track and a very fast one, and it is a track where we have guest vocals on, and it's the first time ever that we do have guest vocals on one of our songs, and it features P.V. Wagner from Rage. He's a good friend of mine since so many years.
Nice.
And to tell you a little story about it, is whenever we recorded this song, I just told Steve, our producer, that I would love to have guest vocals on one of the songs, and he said, "So whom are we talking about, Andy?" And I said, "Yeah, and I told him about people, from the U.S., from Sweden, from England. And he said, "Andy, why are we always talking about people from America, for somewhere else in the world, if you have a good friend living more or less next to the studio, and you know each other since so many years, why don't we call him?" And I was really like, "You think he will make it?" And I said, "Let's try it. That's the only way to find it out, So and that's what we did. We just called P.V. and he was just fucking, "Yeah, cool. Of course, I would love to do it." And this is what we did, So then we recorded it, and what came out at the end is amazing. To me, it makes me really proud, because he's an icon. He's a living German metal legend to me, So I grew up with the early Rage albums,
Sure.
with songs like "Don't Fear the Winter" and stuff. And and to sing side by side with him, on our album, it's just amazing, to be very honest. And it makes me really proud, to be very honest.
Oh, it's
absolutely, and it's definitely one of the highlights to me. So one of my favorite tracks.
Yeah, it's a fantastic track. Let's see, and then let's see. Turn Off the Light.
Turn Off the Light. That's it. So that brings me straight to this very heavy track. So because when we stopped the recordings with Peely, I looked at Save, our producer. He's also the singer in Arden Ogan, which is an amazing band, and very, very famous over here in Europe.
Oh, they're great.
And,
they're great.
I looked at him and I said, so now we have a track on the album featuring a German icon, an old legend, So, but what about having a new metal hero being featured on the album? And he looked at me and asked, okay, Andy, whom are we talking about? Who is it? And I said, Steve, come on, don't ask silly questions if you do not want to get a silly answer. So, and it was quite simple. And he looked at me, and it was kind of a challenge for a while. But at the end, he stepped into the recording room, and then what he did is amazing. What came out is fantastic, so it makes me even more proud. And to be very honest, I knew from the first day on that Wall of Skulls will become a very important, very special album to me. But I think both of the guest vocals, because of Peely and because of Save, it made the album even more special to me, because this is something we've never done before. And I think it fits, because the cool thing is we never done this before because it never made any sense, but this time it made sense.
Sure.
And but the cool thing is really it happened because of friendship, So it's not somebody we called and we said, "Hey, would you do it? I will send you $1,000 and you can do it." And we have a combination to each other or whatever, no friendship or so, So in the case of Save and in the case of the Peely, I'm very proud to say that these are friends of mine, they're friends of us, So and they're part of our album now, so that makes it even more special. That's Escape the Silence and Turn Off the Light. Just is that these are two fantastic songs, and whenever I do listen to those two tracks, very heavy tracks, very fast tracks, it gives those parts, also my parts sometimes, to give me goosebumps, so that's great. I love it.
Oh, they're great songs. And let's see, Glory Disappears.
Yeah, totally different. It's totally different. It's a very how can I say, melancholic. It sounds very melancholic to me, So it's and it's a track about the what happens to people, to kids, when they grow older, when they lose their how do you say, their optimism,
right?
That they find out that not all the people in the world are very friendly, not the whole world is pink,
right,
and so on and so on. That they find out that there's a lot of violence going on, a lot of hate, and so on. And that's what I found out when I looked in the eyes of my kids, So, and I thought I've seen that there's this kind of a. I do always call it some kind of a glitter, whatever, in their eyes, So it's a kind of a very happy, optimistic view they have. They lose it after a while, and I think you can also see it in their eyes, And the cool thing on this track is that this track was about 6 minutes long, and then we started cutting it into pieces. That is a track we worked on again after we were not allowed to go into the studio because of the pandemic, and then we went back into our rehearsing room, and then we started working on the songs again. And in the case of Glory Disappears, we just said to ourselves that we want to try something different, something new, So and
Sure.
This is the reason why it starts with the vocals. It's a very, you have no pre-chorus, it goes straight from the verse into the chorus, and I think that makes it totally different. It was kind of, to us, it was kind of a fresh idea, something new, something different, and I think it sounds good, and it shows exactly also what Brainstorm is all about in 2021, So we do have changed in some way, but we still do sound like Brainstorm, always and ever. But we have, tried something new here and there, but at the end what comes out is Brainstorm.
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely.
Whatever we do.
Exactly. Let's see the next track, My Dystopia.
This is the track I hated the most when we were in the studio, because it has this very high vocals and of this My Dystopia, and Z was such a dumb ass, in the studio, because he sat there in his chair, just recorded it, especially the chorus, and he said, "Yeah, it was good, but you can do better." And I always said, but can we just use a computer to do it better? And he said, "Nah, computer is okay, but I think the fans want to hear it naturally. They want to hear it sung by you,
right.
Really." And I was totally destroyed, So so he kicked my ass very much, So he sat there, I was able to watch out of my booth, I was able to see him sitting in front of his mixing desk, So, and he sat there doing nothing, just one hand on the mixing board, and always the talk back, always using the talk back. That was good, but you can do better. Please again. And that for about 2, 3, 4 hours, and my voice got fucking, it was horrible to me. And but what came out at the end, and that's the difference, especially for to me, working with somebody like something, So no, he's just satisfied whenever you have recorded the one thing, So this, he wants you to record a good one, not just okay. He wants to get the best out of you,
Right.
So, and it's sometimes it takes a while. Yeah, sometimes it takes a while. It's a very heavy, very some people might say Judas Priest style, typical new wave of British heavy metal track. So I might say. But also in the vein of Brainstorm, so I might say, So, and I think it's a very heavy track. We did not expect the people to love it that much, but it seems like that we have to play this song live because it goes up in Spotify and Amazon Prime playlists straight through the ceiling, So
that's good
because the people seem to love the song, so we have to put it on our live set list.
It's a burner. I like that one a lot. It's really good. What about End of My Innocence?
Yeah, End of My Innocence is it's if you think about how can I say, so a betrayer. So somebody who did something wrong, so he finds out that whenever he betrays, and he's some kind of a, it's this, and he knows how to get around the lies, and stuff, and
Sure.
let the other people think, everything's fine, and so that, and then he thinks, betraying people is not so bad, and then that's the reason why he becomes a very bad betrayer, So, and from time to time, So, but it's a very, how can I say, the lyrics are way more darker than the song than the song is, So, but it's cool. It's a cool track. It's fun to me, So it was fun recording this track. It's a mid-tempo, mid-range track, so it's okay to me. It's great.
Yeah, it's a good track. And then Stigmatized.
Stigmatized is a track, very important track. It's a very fast one as well.
Yeah.
I think at the end, finally, we can say that Wall of Skulls features a lot of very heavy, a lot of very fast tracks, because this is an album we did not really expect it to be that fast, to be very honest. It just came, to me, you do listen to the songs, and when you do write the vocal lines and the lyrics and everything else, you do really work song by song, and you do not really, how do you say, you do not really think about the next or the other tracks, So you just work on this song, and then you go to the other song.
Right.
But when I've been to the studio, and Save just asked me, which song do you want to record next? So you always try to start with a very easy, with an easy song, not so fast and so on, so because in the morning your mouth is not so working so well, so your English is not so good in that moment at 10 o'clock in the morning, whatever.
Right.
And I told him, and I said, we should start with a mid-tempo song. They said, okay, Andy, there's only a few, and we just have recorded 2 of them yesterday, so there's only fast ones left. And I was really like, come on. And then we were listening to it, and and if you hear all within seconds after another, so you'll really find out, oh my God, that's true. All the songs are very fast ones, really heavy ones, so I'm like, okay. No time to relax, my friend, no time. and the story is a very, how can I say, it's some sort of a fantasy story, but somebody wrote a book about it, so about a person who just got this feeling that he was reborn 1,000 years later, and he in history, in books of history, he just found out that he just got killed 1,000 years ago by another person because of a lie, and he also feels that this killer 1,000 years ago, he also got reborn and lives also on this planet somewhere, and then he tries to find him, So he definitely finds him, and it's so they say it's a true story,
right.
But he did not kill him, but the other man just had the same feeling that he lived again, and so on and so on. It's a some kind of a very fantastic but also very strange story. But I think it was worth writing about it.
I love that track. I think it's a really good one. Let's see here. The next track.
I love it too.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's a burner. The next.
I love it too.
Yeah. Holding On.
Excuse me?
Holding On, the next track.
Holding On. Okay, sorry.
No, you're good.
Yeah, Holding On is probably the most AOR typical kind of song on the album. It's a very, very melodic one, very catchy chorus. This is one of the mid-tempo songs we have on the album. So in the first place, I was a little bit afraid, so about the reaction of the fans, so that they might say, "Oh, what is this? This is very," as I said, very melodic, very heavy rock, style. But they seem to love the song as well, So, and I think, especially on the position is perfect. I think after a song like Stigmatized, this song works very, very well to me, and I think it makes the album. We always do say it makes the album really a round one. It's really perfect. So at the end, so and it is probably the most commercial track, but we never recorded a video clip or something like this for it. So it was just a song we thought has to be on the album. So and we had this feeling, so we felt Wall of Skulls need this kind of song as well, and I'm very happy about it, to be very honest. It's a very mid-tempo song, but it gives you time to breathe, So after Stigmatized, you need to breathe.
It's a great track. I really like that one. Let's see here. I the Deceiver.
I the Deceiver. This is also a very heavy track as well. Also in the vein of I always might say like in the vein of typical old Judas Priest, for example.
Sure.
Maybe if you can say it that way, So, but it features a lot of Brainstorm typical. Brainstorm stylish trademarks,
right.
So, but it's a track that really goes straight into your face, But it was a tough decision to get him on this position, to be very honest, So because we did not really knew what to do, Because when we were in the studio, and at least before we do the master tape, we're sitting at home, and every member of the band, and also some very close friends, have the 10 or 12 or 11 or 12 tracks, and they do try to find out the perfect running order.
Sure.
So, and that is so difficult, to be very honest, because you sit there, and you might say that Where Ravens Fly has to be number one. And I can tell you that we do it now since about 4 albums. Now we do involve some of our close friends, give them the MP3 files and say, okay, find out yourself what you like, which would be the perfect running order to the album.
Right.
So, and what comes out, if you have 15 people doing it, you have 15 different running orders. It is. It doesn't really help you at the end, but it gives you a sign, So the sign is the most important thing. We always know, especially personally, we always do laugh about it because we actually do know. Okay, there will be no answer at the end, but we have different signs. They show us, okay, we're able to fly. In the most of the cases, they say this has to be the opening track.
Sure.
Okay, we're fine with that. And then it starts, Solitude on number 2, or Solitude on number 10. I Didn't See What was a track. Some people had them on number 2, so, and some had them on number 9, number 8, so, and it was a very, very tough decision because I love the track. I love the vein, I love the style. I love everything on the album, and it actually is. It combines so many of the old Brainstorm trademarks from times like Metus Mortis of Soul Imitation and so on, with the times now we in the way we have changed in 2020, 2021.
Sure.
It combines everything so perfect, and so it was, the cut in my heart, so when we had to decide to bring him on number 10 up, so and one day you have to decide, one day you have to call a record company, okay, this is the final running order, and then, believe me, also the record company starts discussing with you. Also they do discuss with you, also they show up and say, hey, what's this? Why number 10? Why not number 2?
Right.
People, come on.
We've already done this.
it's a tough decision, but somebody had to make it.
Right. And then the bonus track, can you tell us about Cold Embrace?
That was the next tough fight, that was the very Cold Embrace is, of course, one of more or less a song about the times we do have. Pandemic and stuff. People are not allowed to go into hospitals to see their dying relatives and stuff. And that's for a lot of people a horrible situation. So this is something they cannot really deal with it, because it's they do bring them to the hospital, and that's the last time they see their father, their mother, their uncles, their sons, their daughters, whatever.
Right.
And then the only thing you hear is, okay, he died or she died, whatever, and there's no chance to say goodbye to for a farewell or something like that, So that's I think a lot of people in this situation give everything for a cold embrace. That's how I call it. So that way. That is a situation we never ever thought this could really happen. So I think, so I might say that 3-4 years ago, whenever somebody would have told you, that something like this will happen, they all would have called you a liar.
Sure.
But it is now, it's happening now since 2 years, and still people are dying in hospitals, and still their husbands or still their wives or whatever are not allowed to meet, to see them again, even if they're dead, but that's how I call it, or that's why I call it a cold embrace. But also on this track, it was a very tough decision, but especially that was Torsten's decision, to be very honest, because he said after I Did Deceiver, the 10 songs, that is a round thing, that is Wall of Skulls, that is 100% Wall of Skulls, and everything else is a bonus. I think the cool thing is, and that's what I would love to say, is if you get a bonus track from us, from Brainstorm, you always do get quality as well. So, and I think that's a very important thing. When I was a kid, and I bought myself, and I bought records myself, So, and sometimes I bought, or later I bought CDs, with bonus tracks. I was sometimes so disappointed when I paid a lot of money, for the limited edition, and then I listened to the bonus songs, and they were just like nothing,
Sure.
They sounded horrible, So and that is something, I was really, really angry about. And whenever we started recording more tracks for our albums, I think all of us in the band, we from the first day on, we always said to ourselves, we will not decide which song is a bonus track before everything's recorded and everything's produced.
Right.
Because in that moment, you can be sure that we give 100% to every single song, even, let's say, more, 110, 120%.
Sure.
And then at the end, the running order decides, So, and but I'm happy with that, that, and I'm really happy to say that the fans also know that whenever they buy themselves a Brainstorm limited edition, that they do get bonus tracks, they always know that, okay, that's a track. It's not featured on the regular album, but it's a track that it's definitely stands in line with all the others. That's the most important thing. That's value for money, so I might say.
Oh, it's a fantastic track. This is a great album, Andy. I loved it so much. That's why we reached out to you guys so we could talk about this album. Can you tell us about the cover art? The cover art I love all of your all's cover art, but my God, this one is just fucking a home run. It's just crazy, the cover art for this one.
Yeah, that's not a good story for me. funny story is really that I wouldn't say that it was some not a burnout or something like that, but in the spring of 2020, when it all came up with the recordings, with the cover artwork and everything else, I had this title. This Wall of Skulls, and person was totally amazed about it. He said, "Yeah, it's a perfect cover, a perfect album title," And I said, "Okay." And then I sent Eula, our cover designer. I sent him several sketches. And I was really like, okay, it could look like this, it could look like that. But what came out was horrible, to be very honest. But it wasn't his fault. It was my fault, because I had no really good idea.
Right.
It was different on albums, on covers like Soul Temptation, on Midnight Ghost, or Liquid Monster. They all came out of my mind, So it was all up somewhere around here,
right,
in my head. But this time, I had no idea. And whatever I brought down to paper, whatever I told him how this new cover should look like, it made it even worse.
Oh, no.
So whatever I received was more horrible than the last sketch I received. And I was so upset about myself that I called Thorsten. I said, "Okay, Thorsten, this is a strange moment, but I have to tell you that this is the time I have to give up the cover artwork and the design and everything else. And so could you please make up your mind and find out yourself, what do you think a cover artwork should look like,
right.
If you have an album title like Wall of Skulls." And then I haven't heard from him and from Eula for weeks. I might say I haven't heard anything from them for weeks, And then one day I was real like, oh my God, this will be a disaster. This will be a disaster. And then I received a short message: "Open up your email." And I was real like, okay, whatever that means. Okay, I just opened up my email. I have a huge I have a huge screen over here, for my PC.
Sure.
And then what came up was like, more or less 90% of what you have on the cover artwork, more or less 90%. So we changed only a few details, but it was more or less it,
Okay.
And that came up, and I was really like fucking impressed, my friend. I was really impressed. I was really. This is it. You still with me?
Oh yeah, I'm here. I'm sorry, I lost you for a sec. There's a rainstorm here where I'm at in Florida. I'm sorry about that. So you got a file, like an email file, and it had basically everything I'm looking at on the album.
Yeah, and I was impressed. More. You couldn't be more impressed. You couldn't be more impressed. I opened it up, and I was like, okay, if we're talking about heavy metal, talking about a metal cover artwork, this is it. This is definitely it, So, and we now just played 2 shows with a new setup, with a new stage setup, and I had really fucking goosebumps, when the backdrop came up with this amazing, huge cover artwork, So the skull looks at you wherever you stand. The skull looks in every single corner, That is really fucking amazing. I love it. I do definitely love it.
It is my favorite cover art that you guys have ever done. I don't know what it is. I've stared at it, but it's it's bad as fuck. There's so much going on in it. I love your all's covers, but seriously, it is fucking just, there's so much. I read comic books and stuff, so the cover art is just, there's so much stuff going on. It's so cool.
Yeah. Eula is an amazing guy, He's a friend of mine as well.
Uh-huh.
He's a cover designer. He's done so many great ones for Accept and other bands as well. So, and what he did for Midnight Ghost was also unbelievable.
Oh yeah, Midnight Ghost.
What came up with Wall of Skulls was
Yeah, I mean, like I said,
it's amazing, really.
It is. There's so much going on with it, and it's. I mean, just looking at all the different stuff that's going on there. You got the one skull, and it's like all the fire and but there's like the whole. I can't tell if it's like a cathedral, maybe like a castle. It's so cool.
Yeah.
Oh, it's amazing.
It is.
So you guys, so you guys have got that for your backdrop for your live shows, then?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And this still looks in every single corner. This guy looks wherever you are. He looks at you. He looks at you. You have bought anything on a merch booth.
Oh, it's so amazing. Yeah, this album is fabulous, man. I cannot tell you as a longtime fan just how amazing. A lot of bands I feel like kind of go through the motions, but you guys always deliver. And this new album Wall of Skulls is fantastic. It's so good.
Thanks very much, buddy.
It is incredible.
I appreciate it.
Are you going to? Are you guys Brainstorm? Are you guys planning on trying to get back out and doing some like festival stuff next year and whatnot, depending on the pandemic? Or
yes, of course, we would love to do it. You know, we are booked for a lot of festivals over here in Europe, and I know there are many discussions for metal for festivals over there and overseas as well. But what's coming up will be a big tour with our friends Rage.
Nice.
You know, and we're going. That's gonna be a big package. It's 5 days before the release. In about 5 days, the tour dates will be released.
Oh,
but you're the first one to know.
Awesome. That's amazing. Like I said,
it's gonna be a 4.5 weeks tour.
Oh wow.
4.5 weeks, and it brings us all over Europe, especially England, Sweden, Norway, Finland, everywhere. We go everywhere, and that will happen in October, November next year. And but in between, we definitely will play a lot of festivals in the summer. Definitely, I know that there are rumors going around bringing us back to the U.S., bringing us back to Mexico and South America. Everything was more or less confirmed, you know. So before we went into the studio, before we originally wanted to enter the studio, because originally we wanted to enter the studio in the spring of 2020, you know, and then we were not allowed to meet each other, you know.
Sure.
So we were not allowed to see each other, whatever, you know. So then we had to postpone the whole thing, you know. So
Sure.
But everything was confirmed. Everything was planned for U.S., you know, for about 16 shows in the U.S., everything else. And then within one phone call, everything got, you know, canceled.
Yeah.
And that is definitely, and it is, of course, horrible for us as a musician, you know. So as long as we are talking about the Wall of Skulls album, we made the best out of it. We took the time, you know, to went back into our rehearsing room. We went back to work on the songs again. But now, as the album is out, we now, of course, want to go on tour. You know? So, and we want to bring the people so many new songs, you know. So,
sure.
And we've seen, especially on the Metal Hammer Paradise Festival, we played 4 weeks ago. We played 3 out of 3 songs from the new album.
Nice.
And the reactions were just overwhelming. You know, so the album went in charts all over the world in countries we've never been into charts before. You know.
Awesome.
And this is so amazing to us. But we now want to bring it down to the people.
Sure.
You know, especially with a skull behind us.
Yeah. Oh, it's amazing.
Behind us, you know.
Oh, Lord. Andy, thank you so much for taking the time to do this today. Guys, Brainstorm's Wall of Skulls, one of my albums of the year. This thing is amazing. From AFM Records, is available now. I cannot thank you so much from the bottom of my heart taking the time to do this with me today. I love this record.
Thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much for taking the time for me. And thank you so much.